Hey guys, Damon with MBTI, and we're changing a little bit up. I started studying personality because I really never understood what it was about me that I couldn't wrap my head around. There was something just not right. Something was just off. I went to all kinds of different people to see how I could fix myself, and nothing ever provided an answer for me. It was until I came across NLP that really started helping me move past some of the stuff and the baggage from the past. And we all have psychological baggage. We all have these things that we're holding on to that are actually affecting our performance today. I'll share an example with you. When I was a kid, I was with my parents, and my parents' reality of being this kid that was kind of independent, and my brother who, obviously was kind of in control of me at the time, and those are some things I struggled with. And what I'd done, and I didn't even know I was doing this until recently, was taking that reality of 20 years ago and carrying it over in today's present reality. I was recreating the past constantly, and this was on a subconscious level. It wasn't like I set out and maliciously went, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna, recreate my horrible past so I can do it again. So I went out and I set out and I said, okay, now I've recognized that I'm recreating these patterns. I was having a few conversations with a few friends of mine, and what it revealed to me was that I was recreating these patterns without even me being aware of it. And I think we're doing this to ourselves on some kind of level. The magnitude is all personal variation. You may be suffering a little bit, one person may be suffering more. And let me tell you something, I know pain, I know suffering, and it's not caused by this person or that person or this person or that person or whoever, my parents, my past, my friends, my family. These people do these things to me. It's not like that, okay? What it is you're doing it to yourself. You're having some kind of internal conflict that you're fighting. And that internal conflict needs to be resolved. It's resolved by you diving into yourself and recognizing the ego defense mechanisms that you put into place. I'll give you another example. I've always hated people who walk around giving advice. It's like everybody wants to give me advice. I say, hey, I'm going through this. They're like, hey, let me give you some advice. I don't want your freaking advice, never wanted your advice. But why does Damon of MBTI hate advice so much? It's because advice tells you something you already know and you don't want to face it yet. You're not ready to face it. And that's the pain that I feel. It's not me pissed off at the person giving advice, it's me pissed off at me because something has been uncovered. Something has been swept out of its hiding place and come into fruition. It's come into visible, clear sight, and I've recognized it, and this person's recognized it, and now they see my weakness. And that's a scary thing when you're exposed like that. It's like throwing that one punch and then your sides explode. You're like, oh, I just made a mistake. I put too much force into it. I overshot it. Now it's exposed my entire flank. Life has always been kind of a combat thing for me. It's me versus them, me versus you, you versus me, whatever it may be. I've always felt like somebody was trying to get the advantage of me. And until recently, I had a particular friend say, look, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm not trying to make you feel defensive. I just want to understand your situation. But see, here's where the recreation process comes in. Here's where I started recreating the past, because I didn't have anybody in the past. I naturally started pushing this person away. I started shoving all these relationships away. And as a result, I went through my life and I faced this situation of ever so lonely. Ever so lonely, no friends, no family, nothing. And I was like, oh, it's all their faults. It's everybody's fault. It's this person's fault, that person's fault, because I put myself in a position to be lonely. I put myself into recreating the past over and over again and being isolated. I put myself into this position. And it's not because I'm introverted or extroverted. Let's move the personality theory out of this. Let's look at what I really did. The true motivation of that is I had a hardwired pattern that was enforced over and over and over again. Depend on no one, depend only on yourself, thrive to the top, because you can't count on people. And so the minute somebody just wants to understand me, naturally I get put on the defensive, and I'm like, oh, now it's time to fight back. It's time to push back because this person's trying to push me. They ask questions, and I see them as statements. They dig in, and I push away. These things have caused me great pain throughout my life, and so the pain was caused by me, not by other people. And we all know this. We all know the suffering. We all know the hurt. We all know the pain of dealing with other people. We all know people do things to each other. That is a small fraction of what we do to ourselves. The torture, rigorous routines that we put ourselves through, right? These subconscious routines that are mapped by our conscious mind and unconscious mind. We have these routines that we follow. It's kind of like the woman who goes into the abusive relationship scenario, right? She gets in this really horrible situation, the relationship's abusive, she finds another one. And it's not because she seeks out abusive people. She does on a subconscious level. It's because she has this recreation scenario, and it's probably tied to something that happened in her youth. So if we can begin understanding this about ourselves, we can also understand that other people are going through this situation as well. Other people are facing these pains. And this is where I struggle. It's because every night I go to sleep, I don't go to sleep happy. I don't go to sleep as this wonderful, happy person as I see other people do. And I'm like, what is this person doing that I'm not? Where's the problem? What is the problem? Why was I dealt such a shitty hand of cards in life and these other people weren't? Why did I get the dysfunctional family? Why did I get this? Why did I get that? I was playing victim. I would think to myself, what did I need to do better? So life became this constant push, push, push. You need to improve yourself because that's the only way you're gonna live the life you wanna live. But the reality is when we get past this whole, I gotta step forth and I gotta improve myself, but we start looking at what it is that we actually are looking at, which is ourselves, we realize that everything we've ever needed is already there. You don't need to become better. Sure, fix some of the things that you may struggle with or you're not very skilled with, improve upon those things, but you don't need to become better as a person. You don't need to compensate for what you think is weakness. And this is more advice to myself than it is to you. Who am I to give you advice about not being weak? When in reality, that's the very thing I'm doing. By avoiding weakness, I'm creating weakness. The weakness is exposed and then I get defensive. I feel the pain of it. And that pain becomes projected on other people. And that's where we start talking about that subconscious projection. People are projecting things. And I've been given a gift. A lot of people see it as a negative quality, but throughout my entire life, I've had people tell me, they've said, you know, you're too direct. None of us want to face our problems. None of us, we just want to voice our opinion. This is where my relationship struggles have been with females specifically. It's because I've naturally dove in and wanted to be the problem solver. Why? Why did I need to be the problem solver? It's because it helped me solving other people's problems because I couldn't help my own. And for the first time last night, I recognized that I couldn't help someone's problem. They were going through all this stuff and they were telling me, and I knew I had to just shut up and listen. I didn't know what to say. I was in a position of not being able to give any advice. I mean, I could have said something. I could have tried to solve the problem, but in fact, that would have amplified the problem. That would have made things 10 times worse. And it wasn't the route to take. It wasn't the path to take to be successful with people. And I realized this has happened continuously over and over and over again. I had another friend tell me a week ago or so, hey, I didn't want my problem solved. So now we don't even talk anymore. Because that's what I was good for, was solving problems. Like I said, I've been given this sort of gift where I see things with clarity. The problem is that because of that, I cut through to it, and sometimes that's not the effective way to do things. As in maintaining or endorsing or developing or embellishing in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whatever it may be, that's the challenge I was faced with. I found myself doing it again and again and again, pushing everyone away. But again, my advice giving was the very thing I was trying to avoid. So because of that, I was also becoming the thing I was avoiding. It was circular. The thing that I didn't want to happen to me, I became doing that to other people. And they had the same mechanisms I had. They didn't want to hear it. So I set a double standard. Don't give me advice, I'll give you advice. I want to solve your problem, don't solve my problem. So when you create these double standards for yourself, I've created a situation where I keep pushing everyone away, reliving and recreating the past that I've been trying to avoid for my entire life. Is that the way to live? Is that the way to choose to live? Do you find that to be the successful way of life? Because, I mean, we can talk about wealth, we can talk about financial success, we can talk about psychological success, but when it comes down to the personal level, the true measure of success, and I've said this many times, there's two things in life, two things that are most important, the two things that you're going to take to your grave. Being true to who you are and your values and the way that you lived your life, and then the people that you held close to you. That's it. Those are the two things you're taking with you. And if you lose those things, one of two, then I don't think you're successful. This is not measuring the value of a man by the size of his wallet, or measuring the value of a woman by how many kids she's had, or how many marriages she's failed or succeeded at. This is not what this is about. This is about staying true to your core. This is about becoming who you are at your core. This is about allowing those two things to take full handle in your life and come to fruition. And you can be the person that you are today without putting all these barriers up. The things that I've put up throughout my life and I've pushed everyone away. And the pain that I felt was not because it was enforced by other people. Why did they do this to me? And I kept blaming and blaming and blaming. And even when I said I stopped blaming people and I started blaming myself, that wasn't true either. At some cynical core level, I realized that this is what I was doing to myself, even as of today. It may be a long journey for me, whereas someone may have solved it already. But the key here is not to give the advice. The key here is not to give you guys advice. The key here is to give me advice, and I'm giving me advice right now. This video is for me, it's not for you. Maybe you'll enjoy it, but the concept is that I don't want you guys to have to live this way. If you're dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with, then I encourage you to take a step back and stop looking at everyone attacking you and stop feeling like you're a victim and start feeling like your family, your friends, or the people that you hold close in your life are actually affecting you or actually hurting you. And give them the benefit of the doubt. Give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Look at it and go, what am I doing to create this scenario that I am recreating? Create the very scenario that's happening to me in the past. What am I doing today to recreate that? Think about your childhood. Think about what you went through as a kid. How are you recreating that? Imagine silhouettes. Who's filling the role of the parent? Your dad. Who's filling the role of your mom? Who's filling the role of your sibling? Who's filling those roles? How are you recreating those scenarios? Whether it's romantic relationships, whether it's friendships, whether it's pain that you're recreating, whether it's abusiveness, whether it's distant relationships, whether it's psychological distance. What is it that you're actually experiencing, and how are you reliving those things over and over and over again? One of my coaches called this your Achilles heel. And it's one of the parts that kind of continuously eats its way into your life, and it needs your attention. It needs you to keep recreating it. And if you attack it directly, that's not how you're going to fix it. It's to understand it, to spend time with it, to nourish it, to take care of it, to be its friend, to understand its role in your life, to understand that it's protecting you at the end of the day, to take care of you. So you create this, I hate this part of myself. We all have dark sides. We all have pain. We all have problems that we want to fix. We all have these things that we're ashamed of, or we're embarrassed of, or we're humiliated because of. And we don't like to share them. One thing I know is very hard for me to share the way that I feel about things, the way that I feel about people. So I push them away. That seems to be the go-to in my life. Am I here to make a sob story? No. I just want you guys to know that what I'm doing with this one thing may be what you guys are doing in other areas of your life. Romantic relationships. It may not be my exact situation. So the solution, guys, is to nurture this part of yourself, to recognize it's there, to hold it, to give it the love and attention it needs, instead of hating it, instead of pushing it away, and recognizing that I am afraid of weakness, and recognizing that you are afraid of whatever it is that you're afraid of. That's what this is about. That's what this video is about. It's led to all kinds of side effects of loneliness, and a lifetime of loneliness, and a lifetime of pain, a lifetime of depression, a lifetime of anxiety bottled up within us. We can play it off and be cool and have fun, or turn to drugs, or whatever may alleviate us in the moment, but you can't escape it. All you can do is love it. And if you can learn this one part of yourself and to love this one part of yourself, then that's where you're going to find the success. Because love is where it's at. It's not about fighting it. It's not about fixing it or sweeping it under the rug. Another friend told me once, they said, you know, there's a difference between moving past something and moving through something. Moving past something is putting it under a rug and kind of just burying it, which is what we do. And I've talked about input and output. You have an input mechanism, okay? You're inputting any kind of psychological or emotional data, it needs to process. Instead of processing, I take it and I bury it. Don't ever let it work itself out. Don't ever give it attention. Don't ever give it nurturing and love, but just bury it. Close that output door and let it sit and let it linger. It's a tank full of garbled emotions. So when it comes out, it doesn't come out smooth. It comes out unprocessed, raw, as it is, intense, pain, passion. That's what it is. And I felt my whole life that I couldn't turn to art because I sucked at it. I couldn't turn to music because I sucked at it. How do I get this out of myself? Oh, you know what? Let's just give love. Right? It's not love you're giving, it's you trying to process. Damon, it's you trying to process information. You trying to process the thing and the pain that you went through as a child. And it's true that no one deserves to go through that type of pain. It's true that you, whatever you're going through right now, don't deserve it, but that's life. And if you can love and nurture this part of yourself, then you may move past it just as freely. And you can accept that this is part of you. And these dark sides of you don't have to be something you're ashamed of or embarrassed of. That's your Achilles heel. That's your weakness, is the fear of this part of you, not so much the part itself. But if you can learn to love this part of you and take care of this part of you and be this part of you and embrace this part of you, then all of that will dissipate. And you can live life to the fullest. And you can start experiencing everything in its fullest joy, the vibrancy of what we're around, the vibrancy, the calmness of this water behind me. You can start hearing it. You can hear the space in between words. And I've seen glimpses of this throughout my life. I've seen other people live like this. I've seen personal glimpses of complete stillness. The silence between thoughts, the area of calmness, the area of complete freedom. It's not a place you go to, it's not a vehicle you have, it's not a house you have, it's not a family member, it's not a romantic relationship. It is within you, the stillness, the calmness. If you can just take 1 second and calm down and stop fighting yourself and stop putting up so much resistance, and if anyone knows resistance, it's me. I've resisted friendships, I've resisted people trying to get into my head, I've resisted people trying to get into my life. If you can just take 1 second and listen to the silence between your thoughts, the calmness in between each sound, the stillness that's ever present, what you'll find is this new vibrancy in the world around you and the world in its true splendor, the objective reality in which we speak of when we speak of Enneagram. I want you guys to really experience that, because I've experienced these little glimpses, and I can tell you it's a magical thing. The pain is still there. I'm not cured. I'm not any better or worse than anybody else. But I keep recreating a scenario that's happened to me 20 years ago. Your past does not have to equal your present, and your present can be changed to live the future that you want to live. So if you guys really have enjoyed this content, Blake, Trey, Daniel, and I are going to really start working on creating a little more personal content that's relevant to you guys in your daily lives, not theoretical stuff that's going on and it's explaining different systems and modules and nodes and ways of exploring things, which are great information. It's information that'll help you better understand yourself. But we got to remember why we got into this in the first place. Every single person that I've asked, why MBTI? Why are you interested in MBTI? Everybody's like, I want to understand myself more. You know what? That's the exact same reason I got into MBTI. That's the exact reason why I got into Enneagram. I wanted to understand me. But it wasn't MBTI that freed me. It wasn't Enneagram that freed me. What it was for me more than anything was me, and recognizing that and having close friends to tell me for 1 second, stop your resistance and just listen to me. Why are you so resistant? I've observed myself doing this, watching me do things on autopilot that I've never thought I could control. Why am I behaving this way? What is happening to me? Is it because I feel something? Is it because I love something? Is it because I care? What the heck is happening right now? Right? I start seeing these things in myself and I start going, are you not in control? Are you in hell? Because that's what it feels like at times. What the hell am I experiencing? The range of emotions is intense, guys. But if you're resisting it, you have a new level. This new level that you've created, it's resistance, and it's the worst thing you can experience because it's not allowing things to flow through you. Input, process, output. Instead, it's input, don't process, bury. And that one time that one person exposes that, comes in through that output door and exposes it, you explode. I mean, people don't get mad because, where do you put my shoes? Where did you put my shoes? Why are my shoes missing? Is it because of the shoes? Is it because you're really mad about the freaking shoes? Are you yelling at your spouse about to beat the crap out of her because she misplaced your shoes? No. It's not the reason. The reason is because of everything else that you didn't process. You didn't allow it to flow through you, process, and flow out. Instead, you input, bury. Input, bury. There's some point where that thing gets full and those doors want to burst. And she just flicks it. She just flicks it. And then all of a sudden she misplaced your right shoe. And boom, your whole marriage falls apart. And you laugh at it because you're like, what the hell? I mean, we legitimately fought over who put their toast in the toaster first. And that's what came and cultivated everything else. And with further exploration, people usually find out that it's a year's worth of unprocessed garbage. So when you get two people together and you put them in a relationship, they both need to understand that they have this unprocessed crap at the bottom of their emotional processing unit, their EPU. And that emotional processing unit needs to be clear of garbage. It needs to be clear of that. So you have to you have to work through your baggage. Don't let it control you. Don't let your emotional process control you by closing that output door. Work through it. Embrace it. Stop resisting it. And be free. And live free. Just remember, don't measure your value by the next person's value, whether it's financial value. Don't measure your own value as a man by the size of your wallet. Don't measure your value by the size of your friendship or your network or your address book. Don't measure your value by what you do on Saturday nights. Measure your value as a man by being honest and true to yourself. Measure your value as a woman by being honest and true to yourself. There's no difference here. Be free. If you guys like this content, please subscribe. I want to keep reaching out to you guys. I want you guys to be part of my extended family. I want you guys to take part in MBTV in our future and how we're going to grow as people, all of us, not just me, not just Trey or Daniel or Blake, but all of us. We all have so much inherent value to share. So click that subscribe button. Be part of it. Be part of the contribution. Be part of what we're doing. Be part of what you're doing. Let us help you by helping us. Let us connect. So connect with us. Click that subscribe button. Be part of MBTV. Thank you guys so much, and I'm glad I was able to share this content with you today. This beautiful day in New Braunfels, Texas, Land Apart. We'll see you.